Test, 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 test. Can you hear me? Does it sound like it's coming out of a good expensive mic, or does it sound echoey? All right. So now what do? I just sit here and read the comments? Mute. Boom, boom. Okay, happy Friday. The weather report, an homage to the great David Lynch. Put a jacket on, cotton jacket on this morning, and I've had to adjust the pitch of my windshield wipers because the fog on the windshield, which is like a light rain kind of fog, is sort of a light rain. The windshield wipers were bent so that on the upsweep they were squeegee, but on the down sweep they were because the wiper was canted like this. So I just went and bent the arms so that instead of the wipers being canted, they're like perpendicular to the windshield so that the little squeegee thing can, kind of arc back and forth depending on whether it's the upsweep or the downsweep. And now they're perfect. And it was just 2 vice grips bending it by eye. So satisfying. New windshield wipers I got. My truck requires the cheapest windshield. Like I wanted to get the Bosch beautiful Swiss. Nope. It just is the cheapest ones are the only ones that fit. So that's the weather report. Okay, so let's get into the questions. Good questions this week. There's a lot of them. Let me see. And then I answer them in reverse chronological order. So first come, first serve. So Jacob asks, what skills should every man have? When is a man ready to be a father? All right. So every man, you should just sort of be able to either diagnose or lightly repair nearly all of the equipment that you have in your life. So you should, if your car breaks, you should have some idea of what it is so that you can talk to the mechanic or so forth. That's an important skill. I think you should be able to write well. That's an important skill. The ability to earn a living, that's an important skill. That's good. That's a few. And when is a man ready to be a father? Gosh, that's tricky. I'd say when you kind of have a stable income that you can increase as the children get more and more expensive. I would say then. I mean, and it's almost like the younger the better, which sounds crazy, but you kind of I have a friend, he has 5 kids, and I think he started having kids when he was like 24, 25, maybe 26. And they just have a great relationship because they kind of all grew up together. And then my brother had a kid at like 17. He had just turned 17. I think that was a little too young, but he did a good job. I mean, raising the kid, he did the best that he could, brought him every birthday after the age of like 5. My brother brought his son to, a foreign country on some big adventure. So that's not too bad. So Case asks, my son is turning 7 years old and wants his own workshop in his room. What organization, system, and tools would you recommend I set him up with? Can you show off your paper organization at your letter writing desk as well? Yes. Okay. So first thing, desk, a good desk. I recommend, I think my desks are 18 inches deep. I recommend making them out of plywood, making them very long, and then having them with like shelf brackets, big shelf brackets that you get at Home Depot, anchoring that into studs so that it's strong enough to support the kid's weight if he stands on it. And my desks are strong enough to support my weight if I stand on them, and I weigh about $170. And then for organizations, my brother did a episode when he was doing his vlog. He did an episode about these little red toolboxes, and I'm the first one. I bought those. I discovered those. There was a place in New York called the National Wholesale Liquidators. It was fantastic. It was kind of like a Dollar General, and it was on like Broadway and Houston. It was fantastic. and they sold those things. I want to say they were $1 or $1.99. Little cheap plastic toolboxes with a little, and then they would open, and the plastic would wear out. The hinge would wear out after years, and it'd tear off. But they were so cheap. Who gives a crap? And then I would write what the contents were. Now Casey has it like institutionalized. So I would say, in summation, simple toolboxes for each activity, so that, there's like a clay one, or maybe multiple clay ones. There's crayons, pencils, paint, a bunch of different ones, and you can build shelves, and they stack on top of each other, and it looks kind of nice. I don't know. You probably have actual functioning school systems where you live, so they teach the kids their alphabet before the age of 6, and teach them how to read before the age of 9 or 11 or whatever this garbage school I send my kids to teaches kids. So your kid can probably read. My kid can barely read, but he's making progress because we have a private tutor. So, you write in whiteout pen, you write the contents, and as he learns to read, he'll know what's in there. I have these. These are not Snap-on. I just ordered a Snap-on sticker from eBay or something and just stick them on to look rich. These are from, I don't know, they're a few $100. They're really great. They have ball bearing tracks. I have one over here that I use as a desk during the live streams. And I have one here at the studio, but there's a lot of room here for my son that's just full of, and it's this one right here. So this rubber stamp, I took him, Joann's Fabric, which is actually a hobby craft store, it's going out of business. So they have like a fire sale. So I took him there and let him pick out all kinds of stuff to buy. It's relatively empty, but the bottom drawer has all his like clay, air clay, this stuff. Anyhow, that's what I would say. Just isolate all the different stuff. Kids are really bad at cleaning up. They just don't understand it. They're really bad. They just want to make a huge mess, go on, make another huge mess, go on, make another huge mess. So I try to be a prison guard and make sure that things are put away before the next thing is started. So there you go. What's life like after the fires? I missed that one from No Way Jose. It's like there's like a subconscious trauma that everyone kind of has, and I think it manifests mostly in road rage. And the roads are starting to open back up, but there's a ton of traffic, more than usual, and it's like kind of almost unavoidable now. Like if you want to go to certain places, although they opened PCH and they opened Topanga Canyon, I think only one of the lanes is open while they build. I haven't been down there since. And then you see the riots in the streets. There's that. Okay. Letter writing desk. So here I took a picture of it. So this isn't all my letter writing equipment, which I keep in a. I have something called, I can't remember what I call it, like a stationary station. I can't remember what I call it, but this is where I do the actual writing. Let me see if I got this framed up right. So this is where I do the actual writing, and this is kind of perpendicular to my computer desk. So my computer desk would be like right here. And the typewriter, and then this is the margined paper. It's called pleating paper with the red margins on it. This is ideas for episodes on Post-it notes on pleating paper, and then this is just blank, cheap copy paper. Pencil. I have to do this backwards. It's like it's not a mirror. It's backwards. So pencil, and then this is like important documents that I need to take care of, and then paper clips in that little Air Morocco bag that hangs there, and pencils, and that's my whiteout tape that I use when I make mistakes. So that's my letter writing setup, I guess, or station. Let me find the questions? Okay, so all right, so this is kind of confusing because it's question and then there's a comment below it, and then they're kind of attached. Okay, from Ivan, where would you live if you were to leave LA? What have you planned for the Spirited Man over the next 12 months? Also in Dublin this rain. Oscar replied to that. Oh, he's from Love Your Work, Ivan, Dublin, Ireland. All right. Austin, Texas. That's kind of where the migration is headed. Number of reasons, mainly because of there's lots of smart people there, and it's not insanely expensive, and there's lots of the way it's Texas, there's so much room. Like when you go to a restaurant in Texas, when you go to a restaurant in a lot of Texas, I don't want to like nail this down as fact, but a lot of restaurants you go to, there's like way too much room between the tables. It's like uncomfortable. You're like, what? There's 25 feet in between these tables. So there's a lot of space. There's a lot of options. Texas has a kind of a self-sufficiency mentality. So I think that's the move. Channel over the next 12 months. I'm going to be concentrating more on the Patreon side. So weekly postings on Patreon, and then the channel. I've got some things developing that I can't talk about, but the channel is probably going to be after August or so, or September. I'm going to be kind of not posting very much for maybe a year or a little bit more, and it'll be obvious as to why in the next year. I just can't talk about it. Okay. Hi from Norway. Oh, I just went on Ari Shafir's podcast, and that was the country I chose to talk about, was Norway. And I just watched Long Way Home with Charlie Borman and Ewan McGregor, who lives in Topanga. The beginning starts off, he's getting his bike out of his garage. He's in Topanga Canyon, and I see the guy at Food Truck Fridays with his kid. And the episode I just finished was the Norway episode, and I was like, I got to get back there. Oh my God, that place is magnificent. The weather's horrible for motorcycle riding, but who cares? Got to go see it. Anyway, quick question. Why do you prefer Phillips screws over Torx? Love the screws video, by the way. Are there any similar projects coming up? I don't know. Probably there is a similar project coming up. So Phillips over screws, Phillips over Torx. There's Phillips head screwdrivers everywhere. There's one in my Leatherman. There's one in my Swiss Army knife. There's a few in my, I have Phillips screwdrivers everywhere. And Torx are a little bit exotic. They're not so universal. So for certain things, I use Torx, but for the most part, it's Phillips because they're more universal. Okay. Raphael asks, I recently had a son. He just turned 6 months a couple of weeks back. My time to work and focus on personal hobbies after 6 p.m. has almost vanished. You'll get that back as soon as he starts getting into TV and iPads. You can get it back. Any advice on how to deal with this new reality of fatherhood? And so Vincent in the comments below leaves a good reply. And it says 30 minutes in the morning, 6 days a week, 1.5 hours in the evening, 3 days a week, for a total of 7.5 hours a week. And then apparently he got it from a book. Schedules provided in a 115-year-old book that I just read called How to Live on 24 Hours a Day. I don't recommend it because the author has a very pompous, privileged, and ignorant tone throughout the book. His writing style is also... But yeah, that sounds good to me. 1.5 hours in the evening, 3 days a week, 30 minutes in the morning. And you got to be a prison guard with that, with your significant other, with your wife. You defend that territory. That is your territory, because these ladies get extremely empowered once they have their kid. They become, some of these ladies, a lot of these ladies, at times, sometimes, caveat, 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 get extremely empowered. And so you got to be careful to like set your boundaries and hold them like the army. Um, but that seems reasonable to me. But I don't know what your situation is, so I don't know. I like it. Brennan asks, what's it like being a dad? You know what it's like? It's like you get to be a kid again and do all the kid stuff that you liked, but you get to do them the way you wanted to do them when you were a kid, but you didn't get to do them as when you were a kid. And then you can kind of be in that kid zone again. It like really reminds you, you feel it. You feel like, oh yeah. So like for instance, we had to do everything. There was 4 kids, so we had to do everything on the absolute cheapest possible way. So if we went to Disney World, no way we were staying in the park. No way. We were probably staying an hour and a half or 2 hours away from the park. Like, because we had to get the whatever the cheapest hotel was. And then once we were in the park, it was probably like one lunch that all 6 people had to share. And then there was no toys. None. No, 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 no. You're not getting. Although I seem to remember a Jiminy Cricket doll that I had, but I might have bought that with my own money. But there was no. So now, like, we went to this water park for my son's birthday last year. We got the wristbands for season pass because they were like $100. It was like $50 to get into the park, and it was $100 to get the wristband. We were there for 3 or 4 days, and so we could go an hour or 2 or 1 every day. And we had the wristband, so we're not wasting the whole day. And then whatever he wanted, we rented the tubes, which was like extra money. We rented the little cabana. So we have our own place to put all our stuff. And it was like in the kids section of the water park. He got, you get, if he wants a t-shirt, if he wants food, if he wants, granted, that's like one kid. And that's like a money thing, but like, that's the way I wanted to do it. Like, we're doing a big car trip. I hate plane trips. We're doing a big car trip up to Montana on Monday. And like, I'm like decking it all out. We got the dirt bike. It's just me and him. Then we're meeting the girls up in Utah. We got the dirt bikes. We're going to camp. He wanted to camp, so we're camping one night. But then I rented a yurt, which is kind of like camping, like in the woods. That's like part of in a state park for 2 nights. We're doing hot springs. We're doing every day where he gets some kind of reward for the between 3 and 6 hours of car ride that we do. But anyway, it's being a dad, especially to a son, because my daughter's too little, I don't know, is super fun. Not a question. I'd just like to tell you how much you make me laugh when you use a dumb person's voice. This is from Paula. Okay, question. How goofy are you with your family? Not really goofy. I'm like a leprechaun with the family. Like with the kids and stuff, I do little tricks and little deceptions and little like just for a few seconds, not like long cons and to totally screw up their trust in me, but just like little deceptions and little language stuff. And yeah, but we have a lot. It's pretty fun in the house if I'm not all stressed out and like a grumpy dad. So Miran asks, man, the fires have just settled and now unrest. Suppose it's mostly downtown, but is your day-to-day routine affected? No, day-to-day isn't, but I think if you want to go, I'm a little nervous about the 101 because that's the freeway that the protesters keep kind of shutting down. And that's my freeway. It's like right there. I can't see it, but it's like, I think it's right there. So there's that. And then just, it's an unease. It's an unease in my brain because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to pop off. Okay, True North asks, I'm a painter and digital artist who's at the point in my career where I do better with my commissions than with my day-to-day normie job. What sort of milestones or other considerations should a freelancer with some success consider before cutting the cord completely with your day-to-day job? I would say if you have $10,000 in the bank, then you can quit your day-to-day job. Like $10,000 in your checking account that's not accounted for. Although I might be thinking in like 2010 terms, and maybe it's 20, but maybe it's 10. That's what I would say. Because what are we talking about here? We're talking about money. Oh, but then if you're in America, I don't know, can you get on Obamacare or whatever the cheapest healthcare is? I would say that 10 grand, maybe more, 15. But what are we talking? We're talking about money. That's what it all comes down to. How much money do I need to have before I can do XYZ? Okay, so Alex asks, I have a 3-year-old and a newborn son born last week. Congratulations. And I'm facing a major professional transition in a few weeks. Do you have any recommendations of how to balance professional responsibility / drive with fatherhood and partnership? As always, recommended reading on this topic or any other is appreciated. Follow up. For context, I'm moving from being a classroom teacher to being a K through 12 principal in my small town. Your frustrations with our education system often resonate with me, and I'm thinking a lot about how to do good and valuable work in a flawed system. Any thoughts? Oh, I have too many for that. I think the whole thing needs to be redone from scratch. I think the whole thing is totally obsolete and does more harm than good, and I hate it. I hated it then. I hate it now. The good thing about now is like the teachers sort of have this tendency to think that they're everybody's boss, or that they get to tell everybody what to do. And I've said on campus, like, you have no authority over me. Like, go fuck yourself. You're not. So anyway, I kind of have a disdain for teachers. No offense. I'm sorry. Of course, there are good ones, blah, blah, blah. But recommendations on how to balance professional responsibility / drive with fatherhood. I don't know. Isn't your job like the most straightforward job humanly possible? Where just like there's like you're a teacher and everything's set and the finances are set and the vacations are set and the taxes and all that stuff are set. And then when you become a principal, you make more money. It's harder work. You're managing more people, but everything is so set. There's no like, I don't know. I don't think there's negotiating salaries. Doesn't your union do all that? I don't really know how it works. So I would just make sure you have time for, here's just a guiding principle. When you spend time with your kids, it's never wasted. You're never wasting time if you have little kids, if you're spending time with them. And I think that's a good guiding principle. But good luck becoming a principal. But yeah, I think principal, Miss Alex, be aware of the arts. Do not push the arts. The arts are a destructive force on children, because the art people who teach the arts are not the people out there grinding in the arts, and they think it's something that it is absolutely not what it is that they're teaching. The arts is not fun time to do what you feel is the right thing to do. It's the fucking opposite of that. It's an extremely demanding, soul and life crushing addiction that you should only really be in if there is no other choice. And if you need to become successful in it, it will probably your ambition within that paradigm and and the demands of that paradigm will very likely destroy all of the other, or very badly damage almost all of the other relationships in your life. So the arts is for very highly, extremely disciplined, organized, and driven people. It is not for people who are good at drawing. It is not for creative people who have such a great imagination. Sometimes those people do well in the arts, but the people who do well in the arts, almost regardless of talent, are the ones who are driven capitalist psychopath or sociopaths. So I would say if you can, I know you don't have control over the system, the school system, but like the trades is where it's at. And the trades are much more adjacent to the arts than the humanities are to the arts. And this is coming from someone who forewent a trade opportunity and went into art opportunity, and went, humanities opportunity. And I believe I paid a dear price for that. And my mentor, who was a much more successful artist than me, how he was able to do his art in New York City is he was a welder. He had a trade. Granted, he learned it in art school, and it was a completely different time. Much more money for artists back then. Much more opportunity. It was anyhow. You just basically would move to New York, and if you had some skills, there was so much money in the art industry, and it was growing so fast. You could get assistant jobs and all of this stuff. So I'm just saying, the trades over arts any day of the week. Arts should be treated like recess. It's just something you do because it's a little bit fun and it gives you a break from the actually important stuff. And then the killers will become artists no matter what. And I just think kids are destroyed by being, and I've seen it, by being encouraged because they're like good at drawing. I've seen people ruin their lives. So that's a little what's it called? Rant. Why are some people attracted to certain mediums of art? Why do certain mediums just seem to fit people? Yeah, I wonder that. Like, I am a terrible drawer. Like, I have to draw and then erase and draw and erase and draw. I have a terrible line and stuff, but I can kind of sculpt anything. Like, I could take a hunk of clay and make anything out of it. I could probably do faces and make them look just like the actual face. So I don't know what that is. It must be about you have object visualizers and pattern recognizers and all these different kinds of brains. It must have something to do with that. It must be some natural inclination thing. Certain people, like a writer is a different thing than a director, but sometimes they coincide, and sometimes one of the two things is stronger. And then, yeah, so like probably David Mamet's probably a better writer than he is a director, but he's also I think he's probably a good director too, because he's directed stuff. But I think that's what it is. I think it's just natural inclination. What are your thoughts on the current direction of administration and how the world views USA currently? I imagine they're not. It's all in that video that I did, the fourth turning, and then the sequel to the fourth turning. That's kind of where my thoughts are on it all, is there's these cyclical things, and we can just look back the patterns of history. Neil Ferguson says it's bullshit. The historian, the Hoover Institute or Stanford historian, he says it's bullshit. The patterns of history thing is, but he doesn't present as good a case as the people who present the case. And it just makes sense because of, human nature is nothing new under the sun, right? With that Ecclesiastes or something, nothing new under the sun. It's from the Bible. So I just think I think this is the natural course of things. And I think America has been a spoiled kid for way too long, or not for way too long, but for, 80 years or so. And chickens are coming to roost. Once you grow up, this being spoiled doesn't help you. It's all weakness. Like, lack of discipline, lack of, a sense of entitlement, and then blaming this group or blaming that group. And then, there's that great line in The Departed, when the guy's complaining, he's like, I don't have any money. And the northern the like North London or Irish guy is just like, this is America. If you don't have any money, then you're an asshole. And that's kind of true. Like, it's still a place where you can, if you be clever and not be so stubborn and not be like, well, I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. I studied blah, blah, blah in school. I don't want to do that, or blah, blah, blah. If you can swallow a little bit of pride, there's tons and tons and tons of opportunity. There's tons of things that need your help. So Uh, yeah, politically, yeah, I think the world resents America, but I think those are some spoiled people too, because we did contribute a tremendous amount to the global, wealth, and the technologies that were built in this country have eliminated a great deal of poverty. And, so from what we see on news and media, there appears to be lots of unrest in LA. Yeah, I think people are mad. I think I'm also thinking, I'm going to steal this line I heard from an artist, from the son of an artist I know in New York. And I won't disclose. I think this is private. And the artist said, I don't believe in peace. And I think I don't believe in peace. I think peace is horseshit. I don't think there's any such thing as peace. I think there's pauses. And I think the reason there's no peace is because you don't have peace in your soul. You have to, every individual goes through some kind of war within themselves. And I just think that it manifests externally. And I think the last, since probably the dropping of the atomic bomb, we've had a pretty good relative peace, considering the rest of human history. And if you read what's that book, Enlightenment Now? What's that guy's name? I can't remember. Is that the name of the book? No, that's not the name of the book. Enlightenment Now? Is that the name of the book? The Harvard guy who wrote the book that, like, no, everything's great. Nothing's ever been this. We've never been as peaceful. We've never had as much money. There's never been as few diseases. There's never been as, it's just, what the hell is that book called? I think it's called Enlightenment Now. But for some reason, that's not it. I don't know. Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm not anchored in anything. It's just like a dynamic. And I think that we're going to reset a lot of these institutions. And I think that manifests in war of one way or another. And I think war is sort of like a forest fire, and it burns up all the fuel and fertilizes certain plants, kills other plants, and it just makes new things grow that weren't there before. And I think that's what we're on the cusp of. Daniel asks, I was curious about your motorcycle jacket and who makes it. I love the look of it. Thanks. I got it at this place called Hidden Treasures, Treasure Island. It's in Topanga. It's this amazing thrift shop. It's really well curated thrift shop on Topanga Canyon Boulevard. And it has like a model of the SS Minnow from Gilligan's Island outside. It's like really cool looking, this place. Hidden Treasures, Treasure Island. I don't remember what it's called. I got it there, and the brand is like the shopping mall leather store, I think. Like I want to say it's like Wilson's Leather. I want to say that. I don't have the jacket on me now. It's at the house. But it's something like that. It's like written in a fancy cursive script, like on the label, but it looks pretty old. It looks like 80s, maybe even older than that. But it's got that like elastic, so that holds really tight to you, because on a motorcycle, you're going, a lot of the reason that motorcycle jackets look the way they look is because the wind will flap the fabric against you. And so a motorcycle jacket needs to be like kind of tight in a strange weird way, and they don't have collars that'll beat on you. And then the like Marlon Brando jacket with the huge lapel thing with all the like aluminum teeth and has little grommets on it and stuff. That's actually, if you ever seen one of those, that's actually meant to be folded over like double breasted and zipped all the way up. Like the what I'm talking about, the jacket that like Andrew Dice Clay wears. So I think it's like a Wilson's Leather jacket or something like that. Okay. Ryan asks, what's the project taking you the longest to complete from conception to the actual build? A space program, the feature documentary that I did with Tom Sachs, because there was tons of builds in it. There were little machines and stuff that we made, and then there was tons of footage in it. He understood. He did a director's cut, which I just signed off on. I was just like, cut it. and it's actually shorter than the one that we released. And I added like this storyline that I'm sort of regretting now, but we were trying to make it an hour length movie so we could enter it into festivals, and I sort of regret that now. I wish I had made it just less plain and more boring, but what can you do? Just live and learn, I guess. But that took, let's see, it started in 2012 and it wasn't done until 2016. Shake her hand. Shake her hand. Recently put some shelves together. Why do you recommend getting separate screws for the drywall anchors instead of using the included screws? Is there a backstory here? Okay, I'm so glad someone has asked me this question. So I get these, I think they're called like Cobra brand. There's like a specific brand. It's in the either screws video or shelves video or both. There's a specific band. They're called like Triple Lock something. You get them at Home Depot. They're the most expensive hollow wall anchors is what they're called, or drywall anchors. And they come with like number 8 or number 10, 1.5 inch pan head sheet metal screws. And the problem is the head is designed for a Phillips head and a flat head and that square head thing. And none of those bits fits in well enough. They're all a little bit loose. So they like strip when you're digging and when you're drilling them in. So I just throw those in. I literally throw those in the garbage. And then I get Phillips, just straight Phillips, same size as it's $5 or whatever for a box of them. And then that's why. So they strip easy is the short answer. They strip easily. Vincent asked, what are your thoughts on The Mechanic? I've never seen it. I know it's one of those movies that everyone's supposed to see, but I haven't seen it. Have you been inspired by any movie scenes lately? I got to tell you, I just can't get away from the Wes Anderson movies. I go through these phases of where I'm just captured, and I watched this thing on like vanityfair.com, and it was like Wes Anderson. It was like he's pushing the Phoenician scheme. Is that what it's called? He's pushing that movie. He's like promoting it. So he did this like hour interview with Vanity Fair, and he just breaks down. He doesn't break them down, but he talks in general and specific terms about each of his movies. And it just makes me want to make movies. I mean, make anything, make this stuff. It's just, I love the way he talks about it. He's just so great. He's allowed to, for me, he's like the one guy who's allowed to sort of like have an incoherent story or a story that's hard or even a boring story. But I'm so hypnotized by the filmmaking that I will come to the story after, because I watch the stuff, because I'm hypnotized or enchanted by the stuff. So the question is, so yeah, I've just been watching those. Moonrise Kingdom. When he talks about that in the Vanity Fair thing, God bless him, he talks about he had been living in Europe for a while and he wanted to make a really American looking movie and a really American movie. And he shot it all around like where I grew up. So there's the field where they set up that there's like a tree house that's like 100 feet up on a really skinny tree. And that's where the nest tents and stuff that was done. I'm almost positive that I know the actual field that was done in Stonington, Connecticut, which was like, I used to ride my bicycle there. I rented a house there for, I think 2 years in like 2010 to 2012. Was that right? 2008 to 2010. I might've rented a house there. I rented an attic there. Anyhow, those, I just love them. I love those. Okay. Oscar asks, I'm interested in how you film builds and repairs. Do you shoot the entire process and then edit for interesting moments, or do you only shoot moments during a build that you know are going to be interesting? I've been doing it a long time. I shoot as little as possible and I use as much of the footage as possible. So I just use the broad stroke. I don't have any throwaway. I use almost every shot. A lot of I get lazy, and a lot of times sometimes I just do a time lapse because the thing that I'm repairing is more important than the video. I know that sounds terrible, but I like the time balance is like, well, I'm going to Utah or I'm driving to Montana, so I got to make sure the truck's working. So I'm just going to shoot this thing like fast. But yeah, usually I'll write out a shot list and then have exactly what I'm going to shoot and know. And a lot of times you just need to shoot like the first step and then like 2 steps and then the last step for certain things. But it can get really tedious and working in just those tripod legs. I wish somebody would invent a tripod where you hold it up, you push a button, the legs shoot down to the exact height of where you're holding, right? And then either you pull them out and then you put it down, and then the head calculates how much lower it is from folding the legs out and then pops it up, or you shoot them out with the legs undone. But like there's like 60 people market for that product, and it cost $800 trillion to develop. So we'll probably never see it. Mateo asks, hope you're doing well. I often think about something you said, quoting David Lynch, you need to have a setup. I find myself applying it to many things in life. I'm curious, how did that idea resonate with you, and what did it mean for you personally? First thing I do when I move to a new place, build the setup, because I can't work on the house until I have a setup from which I can work on the house or the apartment or whatever. It's the first thing I do. And I'm never without one. I have little one. I might have a setup in my pocket, which is my Tom Sachs Leatherman, multi-tool. I have a setup in the car, there's a lot of tools that I know that I need to fix certain things that I can fix from the side of the road in the car. I have a motorcycle setup. It's something I love doing, and I love that he articulated it, and I love that it's part of the process of being someone who makes stuff. So that's what it means to me. I mean, I almost like it more than making the stuff. I would just do the setup for hours and hours and dial in like insane little tiny details. But I love it. I just love it. I also respect people who are totally chaotic and have a huge mess, but I don't see how they can do it. Okay. Vincent asks, I think you could make a good video about how the YouTube algorithm influences people's interests for better or for worse. However, I'm not sure the gods of YouTube would like that. When I turned off my YouTube history yesterday, which controls algorithmic video recommendations on the homepage, my interest in many topics devolved. So, yeah, that would be a hard video to make. It's not very visual, I don't think. It could be. Okay, you should do a video called Uncontrolled Chaos. I feel like describes your organizational philosophy. That's a good idea. That's true. How much time have you spent at the national parks? A bunch. I have the annual pass thing that's hanging from my rearview mirror. See, on Tuesday I'll be at Zion, and then I'm gonna go after that I'm going to Grand Teton, and then after that Yellowstone. That's probably it for this trip. But I've done a bunch. Acadia National Park, Arches, Yosemite, Sequoia or Kings Canyon, whatever that one's called. What's the one in the desert there? Joshua Tree, Saguaro. White Sands, which used to be a national monument, and then Trump made it into a national park, which means you can get the handkerchief. They make the handkerchief with the map on it of the park, and I collect those. So yeah, I love them. They're great. They're getting worse because now they're global destinations. So sort of the global rich inundate them, and you have to. I needed to book the Yellowstone. There's a hotel called the Old Faithful Snow Lodge, and this is just a government. Imagine a post office. Imagine the people who built the post office build a hotel. It's not a particularly nice hotel. It's okay. It's good enough. It's American, like public school quality hotel. And I was looking there, booking more than a month in advance. I looked more than, I think it was either $1,250 a night for the cheapest room or $1,500 a night for the cheapest room. I can't remember. And then the closest, they have a monopoly on that, on the staying in the park. And then outside the park, all those hotels, like an hour out, an hour from Old Faithful, they're like $500 a night for like not nice, like not like best Western quality hotels. So the best time to visit them is in May. Is like the first week in May, because the animal babies are all being born. So there's tons of like little animal babies, and then stuff's not all booked up. But when you do it in the summer, like I got the kids, so you got to do it in the summer. It's kind of crazy. And Yosemite is always horrible. It's more packed than Manhattan. It's more dense than the West Village in Manhattan. Like with people, how many people and how many cars and all the pulling over and no parking and it's beautiful, but I've never had a good experience there. But I'm a picky, bitchy, spoiled brat. So that's probably why. And I've never done like like big hikes and the packing and all that stuff, because I don't like that stuff. So how much time have I spent? I don't know. 20 nights, something like that. Oh, I've done what's the one in Montana? Glacier, that one. What do you love about Stanley Kubrick? And what is your favorite film of his? I love the way the films look. I love the way the films sound. I love the performances in the film. I love all the different aspects of filmmaking within the Stanley Kubrick movies. They're just masterpieces, and they're all mind fucks. They all screw your brain up because they're just sort of an impression of the human condition without judging it, without saying good or bad. Usually they say bad. Usually they're pointing out some darkness. But they're so great, and they so get deep into my mind, and they're so haunting, and they become part of my subconscious. And then they're also like relatively simple. There's no crazy visual effects. There's stuff like I could figure out how to make all that stuff. It's just like practical solutions. What's your meditation practice? What does it do for you? Sometimes I meditate 5 days a week, 20 minutes at a time. This week I didn't. This week I just blew it off. I've been meditating since 2005. I learned how to meditate at the Union Square Meditation Center, in New York. What does it do for me? It makes me not spin out psychologically, because I have a lot of time. I have a lot of variable projects going on simultaneously, and filmmaking is a multivariable project. So sometimes my brain just will seize up. And so the meditation just keeps me just even, and kind of lets me let things go and just kind of get through it. Have you considered moving to a place with a lower cost of living? I sure have. Yes. Now that you've been doing YouTube for some time, and more importantly, this is from Khalil. Now that you've been doing YouTube for some time, and more importantly, through the wildfires, can you talk about your perspectives on YouTube being creative versus being a job? How have your perspective shifted from when you first started with projects like Women in Influence? Yeah, it's like I also have another child now who's young. who's little. And um the burnout is like when I go to IMI Fest, that's what, no matter from the YouTubers who are 19 to the YouTubers who are 50, the burnout is the common thread. And I think my perspective has shifted in not needing to upload as much as I once did, and trying to just be more deliberate with the projects, and trying to let them have more space in the making of them, and trying to enjoy the making of them more than just cranking them out. It's kind of more of a job and less of a job because my financial responsibilities are getting bigger. So yeah, that's my perspective. Is I'm slowing down because it's kind of killing me a bit. So Kunal asks, I was wondering, is the American dream dead? I don't think it's dead. I think this is just part of a cycle. I think, there's Ray Dalio, who's the most successful hedge fund manager. And what's his fund called? I can't remember. He wrote a book about these cycles. It's kind of like the fourth turning, and he sort of wrote them from like a economic point of view, which everything is basically money. All wars are over money and property. And so the thing that happens where these civilizations kind of spin out and go to war, is that the debt gets too crazy, is that the sovereign debt gets too crazy. And so ours is at 36 trillion, and like probably not going to be able to pay it back. I think they're betting on AI to be like an industrial revolution, and they'll just grow their way out of the 36 trillion. That might be true. I don't know. I don't know enough about this stuff, but the American dream is certainly, I think, on pause, because the dream was that you could have a job and then live the middle class lifestyle and own your own home, send your kids to college. I'm pretty sure that's, and have 2 weeks of a vacation. And now that's sort of like, you kind of got to be like kind of rich to do that, just to have, like, the thing about the Palisades. I remember thinking a lot when I went there. I think the average house price was about $6 or $8 million, and this was the most ordinary middle class looking little neighborhood. Like, it looked like, I don't know, any town in any neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio or something. These weren't mansions. And my God, where I grew up, $8 million could get you the house in Watch Hill that in Watch Hill, Rhode Island, that Taylor Swift bought. I don't know if she still owns it. Like, I'm sure when I was 25 that was $6 million or something. And now to get just like a middle class house, I mean, of course the neighborhood's burned down now, and it's expensive area in LA. It's more expensive than Beverly Hills. Well, it was. So that's not accessible to people. I mean, the American dream, it was kind of a finite period, probably post World War II to maybe 2008, which is a blip in our history and a blip in it's not a blip in our history. It's about a third of our history, but it's a blip in human history. And I think everybody kind of alive right now thinks that that's the normal, that post-war abundance. And all the GIs, when they came back, they got really low interest loans, and they got these mortgages, and they could buy houses, and the colleges were just about free. So they could send their kids to college, even if you worked at a gas station or whatever. And those men had discipline, those soldiers, and they had suffered, and they didn't want any more of it. And they just wanted a nice, stable, predictable world. And we got that for a while. And I don't know. We're going to have to get it back. We're going to have to earn it back. But right now it's kind of a mess, as we all know. So Annie asks, are there any YouTube channels or creators you follow on the regular? She says, Annie from downtown Los Angeles. Oh, Annie, I hope everything's okay for you. I hear choppers. Don't know what that means. Are there any YouTube channels or creators? I really like Natalie Lynn. She's incredible. She's like brought a cinema to YouTube. Her YouTube videos are all basically cinema. Like cinema would have gotten her in a different marketplace. She would be, I don't know. She would be who's a cinema equivalent to her. What's her name? The Scottish lady who did Ratcatcher. I can't remember her name. So I like her YouTube channels or creators. I love Braxton Haugen. Channels. I watch a lot of those podcasts that are on YouTube. So I watch like the All In podcast. I watch the Moonshots, the Peter Diamandis one that's basically about AI. I watch Trigonometry. I watch Communists. I watched that Richard Wolff guy who's like a Marxist communist. I watch, there's this Earhart guy who's like a Stanford philosophy young man. He has great ones. He has good ones because he has both people. He'll have like Victor Davis Hanson on, and then he'll have Richard Wolff on. So he'll have a kind of a conservative guy, and then he'll have a Marxist on. Yeah, and I'm just addicted to those. They're all in that podcast addiction video. Oh, something's going on. Maybe there's a fire or something. There's no fire. It was raining this morning. Anyway, hearing lots of helicopters. How did you and it's Isabel. It says Isabella, but how did you and Isabel meet and fall in love? And this is from Josh. Blind date. Wednesday was our 10th anniversary, actually, and we met. It was a blind date. So I picked her up on my TW 200 in Manhattan. She lived in the West Village. We went up to. They had just opened, I think, that day, the High Bridge, which had been closed since 1976, and it's the highest bridge that connects Manhattan to the mainland. And it was in the Bronx, and it was like in the 140s or 160s. It's way up there in Manhattan, and then it connected to the Bronx. And it was really high up. And when we got there, it was closed. It's just a footbridge. So we hopped the fence and walked to the Bronx. And then when we came back, the security guys yelled at us, but they went out to dinner and stuff, and that was it. That was how it all started. Okay. Mao asks, hello, Van. I'd like to know how you deal with the burnout of work life in general. There is something that you like to do to clear your mind. Motorcycles are very helpful. Date night is very helpful. The kids are very helpful. Finishing at 5 p.m. every day is helpful. Although it doesn't matter what time I start. I can start. Sometimes I start at like 3 a.m. I finish at like 7:45, so I'm home by 5. I finish at 4:45, so I'm home by 5. I don't work on the weekends. I leave them for emergencies if something goes wrong. I leave them available, but I usually take a day off on Saturday. Just like basically don't get out of my sweatpants until like 2 p.m. And then Sunday is just all day with both kids so that Isabel can have a day off. And we've been doing magnet fishing. So that's stuff that all helps. And then, therapy and stuff so that I don't go crazy with craziness. Tyler asked, did you have a mentor before Tom Sachs? No, I don't think so. Maybe my Uncle Bill. He owned a boatyard in Florida, and he was really good at fixing stuff. He's like a self-made guy. Please keep Zachary says, please keep the BMW. Give it a full restoration. Engine swapper. Same kind of love you gave in the Land Cruiser. I think I will. Good. Thank you. Good. I won't get rid of it. But that weld held, man. Casey's weld. I think I've been up to yes, I know I have. I've been up to Ojai and back through the mountains twice. On Wednesday, we went up to Ojai through the mountains, through the back roads, and then through the back roads to Santa Barbara, then friggin' pinned it. Not really. I mean, because Isabel's on a 400. So 80, 85 miles an hour the whole way back on the 101. And thank God that weld is solid. So it's holding up. If you could remove all logistical and financial restrictions, what new tool or piece of equipment would you acquire? You know what? I'd love to have one of those huge steel barns like Whistling Diesel has, like a big black steel 10,000 square foot steel barn to put all the vehicles and stuff in. And then I think the thing that I would want would be a lift for like a car so you could lift the car up and work on the car as it's in the air. I just hate being on the ground. And I like that the Land Cruiser's up high, a lot of clearance, so it's easy to lie under it. But I don't like being on the ground. I don't like being dirty. And I don't like dropping all the shit on my face, and you got to wear face goggles. But that's what I would get. I would get a lift inside one of those big steel barns. Rodrigo asks, we all know about your journey and love towards the Pentel 0.9 millimeter. But what's your relationship with other stationary items? Any favorites? Pen, Sharpie, or markers, crayons? Some that you hate, maybe? I don't like. Tom Sachs swears by like the Uniball, but it's water. It's water soluble. So if it rains, it just Uniball pen ink just. I fountain pens I can't use because I'm left-handed. It's too messy, and the nib needs to be dragged. And lefties push a pencil unless you go all the way around like this, then you can drag it. So I can't use fountain pens because I have to push them, and they're designed to be dragged. I love do I have one here? I love these little there's one in this picture. They're whiteout correction tape, and they're really great because they're not wet ever. Let me see. Oh, it's on the table right there. It's like two little roll. It's like, it's kind of like I fucking hate touch screens. It's like right here. It's two little reels, a take-up reel and a feeder reel of like whiteout tape. And you just like a pen, you drag it across your mistake and you can type right over it instantly. I love those things. I have this pen that my uncle Bill, the guy I was just talking about, gave me, like a big Cross 18 karat gold pen. And it has these cartridges from Cross that you have to buy. And that's what I write all my checks and stuff. That has to be signed in ink with that. I love that thing. Yep, I use Sharpie. I'm forgetting something big. Oh, the red. These Papermate Flare red medium. I buy these by the box and just put them everywhere because when I'm reading stuff to underline it. And then of course the Olfa, this size Olfa. They don't make these anymore. They don't make the plain ones anymore. Now they got to be all cool and ergonomic and ugly. But they don't make. I love whatever. These are now precious to me, and you can't get them. The Model A. Model A. And then I love these Popskas, the Uni Popskas. It's water-based paint pen, and they're pretty strong ink. And then the Sharpie has ultra fine, like 0.9 millimeter ink pens, but the tips wear out. There's also I think Pentel maybe. Deco Color makes these, and you can get replacement. The tips. They get, especially the white ink dries out really quick. The tips dry out, and you can try to thin them out and paint thinner. It doesn't really work, but it kind of works, especially for the black ink because it's so thick. And then highlighter, just the regular like Sharpie highlighters are fine. And yeah, there's more, a couple more little things like that. Okay. How would you improve online teaching if you were asked to as a filmmaker? What could online teachers do to improve their... Experience with camera lighting, storytelling angles, and what? Okay, what could online teachers do to improve their students? To Oh my gosh, come on, guys, let's do a little proofreading. What could online teachers do to improve the students' experience with cameras, lighting, storytelling, angles, and framing, etc.? Could they do better than just talking heads? Thanks for ideas. Oh yeah, don't make talking heads. Talking head, don't make it. If that's what it's going to be, don't do it, because that's just doesn't that's a complete waste of time. Yeah, just close-ups on stuff. I don't know. Math, that's just a struggle. It's just sucks to learn how to read, and it just sucks to learn how to do math, and however they've been doing it is fine. But once you start getting into that advanced stuff, I don't know how to recommend teaching that, because I don't understand it and I don't care to learn how to do it. I don't know. Something new. Everybody's insanely stupid. I cannot believe how dumb people are. They don't know anything. Nothing. They don't know who Thomas Jefferson is. They might know who George Washington is. If you watch these videos of people being interviewed in Times Square, I don't know if you watch these, but they get dozens of people to answer these questions and like name 3 countries besides America. Can't do it. If you travel at 80 miles an hour for 1 hour, how far do you travel? Cannot answer. Cannot answer. So whatever, I don't know, whatever the teaching is, it's not really working. Or maybe there's just always been people that dumb, but they never got to go on like the equivalent of television. Maybe there's just always that. That could be it. Maybe everybody's just as smart as they've always been. And the people that we hear from are the smart people, because they can write and so forth. So I don't know, but yeah, I guess to do online teaching, you have to be a filmmaker. You got to learn the filmmaking techniques, and you're probably going to have to learn how to build little rigs and stuff. If you're doing it live, you're going to want to plug in camera that you can move easily, and then have stuff set up that you rehearse, so you can move your webcam, to different, close-ups and different shots. But don't be figuring that out as you're wasting your kids' time. You got to like figure that out. And then I don't know, steer kids to different resources of YouTube videos. Kind of got to be a curator, because there's a lot of incredible stuff out there. And then I think you want to be a bit over the kids' heads. You don't want to teach to them. You want to teach to them a little bit smarter than they're capable of understanding. I don't really understand how you're supposed to get kids interested in anything, I've got to say, except by sheer brute force of will. Tony says, always love the quality in what you do. A question is a tough one. Basically looking for some inspiration. My eldest daughter gets married in a few weeks. And although I know the general gist of the speech I will give, I would like to ask if you have any meaningful bits of advice I can leave them with as they start their lives together. E.g., perfection is not attainable, but if we strive for perfection, we can achieve excellence. Yeah, that's good. Use that one. I had to give a speech at a wedding, and you can look up like the format, the structure of what the speech is supposed to be, and there's good ones out there. Like it tells you like the beats to hit and so forth. So getting married. Wait, is she graduating or getting married? Wait, my question is general justice, like to basically look for my eldest daughter gets married. Oh geez, I don't. All the wedding stuff is kind of the same. I've been married for 27 years and I've learned this thing. The woman, it's all the same hack punchlines. Just a happy wife, happy life. and I'll tell you one thing I've learned. She's always right. And that hack, just avoid that hack crap. Avoid that the man, avoid the crap that the man is a subservient little pet and the woman is in charge of everything. And the man just has to do, that there used to be like an ironic, funny thing because guys used to be so bossy and such assholes. But now, like, a lot of guys have just swallowed that and they think that that's supposed to be the course of things. But really, it's a business partnership, it's a business relationship. I mean, everybody loves the love and all that and blah, blah, blah. And we met on this. And then they played the song and I couldn't believe it. And then Billy walked in and he had a then and and like we had the same dog and our leashes got blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we all love that shit. But like, see all of culture and all of pop music for that reinforcement. This is a business arrangement. Try to get out of this. Go ahead, especially if you're the person paying for everything, because you're not going to stop paying for everything when you get out of it. So I don't know. I would lean on that side of it. Like, be practical. You can still be funny. You can be funny, but like that stuff, people don't talk about that. So you are entering a business relationship, and that's something you could riff on. You could pick a business. Like, you could pick a successful business that everybody likes, Google, or you could pick and then you could pick a shitty business that everybody hates, Kinko's, although they're probably too young to even remember Kinko's. But yeah, I think that's the angle that like needs to be really, really reinforced, that people really need to understand, is this: like, you're in a business now and this person is your partner. And if you build Amazon, it doesn't matter what she contributed to you building the actual business. She's getting $300 billion or whatever the hell it was, $150 billion, whether she's with you or not with you, and vice versa. Although it's very rare. There's Justin Federline, like, he didn't write them songs. He was a backup dancer. He didn't write and perform those songs. He didn't go on the road and bleed and get pilloried. Well, I guess he did get pilloried in the tabloids, but like, she got to pay him. I think she's still paying Justin Federline, and she had to pay him with anyway. I would go that angle, like, business. This is a business. That's like at an Orthodox Jewish wedding, that like there's a big part of it where it's just they're signing. There's a big closed door meeting where they're doing the contract, and the contract's really this beautiful hand painted thing. But it's like the contract, it's like the expectations and so forth. So I would go that angle, because everybody else is going to go I remember when Billy was my college roommate and he was so like, okay, we get the juvenile, childish side of it. Now let's talk about the adult, because this is probably the most adult thing you've ever done. And you're probably a kid. You probably act like a kid. And like, this is a business partnership and you're in it. Also, I don't know. That's it. I would go the business angle, business partnership angle. And I don't know. Nobody jokes about divorces in the weddings. Nobody ever crosses that line. I'd love to go to like a comic wedding where it's a comedian getting married and then the comics do all the speeches and stuff. I'd kind of love to see that, because I'll bet some of them that's all they talk about. Like, I could picture Norm Macdonald, like that would be all he would just talk about, the divorce. But it's like verboten. I don't know. I'm also a salty New Englander, and this is what we're like. Happy Friday. I was wondering, this is from Ty, if you could expand on travel efficiency in terms of bags, gears, etc. I avoid checking bags at all costs. So I was wondering if you have any systems you utilize when flying to get the most out of your gear without overpacking. I know you touched on this in the past, and I'm hoping to discover more. Oh man, it depends so much. It so depends. And a general thing. I'll give you a general thing. I think you should get to a place when you're traveling, I don't know what your like financial system situation is, but I think you should, as you get older, you should notch up your standards. And there are certain standards that if you have to go below, you don't do the travel. I think, but I'm a person who's traveled a lot, and I'm a person who's traveled on the absolute bare minimum. Like I've done buses, like long bus rides and stuff. I think when I turned 30, I was like, no buses anywhere ever, except in Europe. Like, fuck Europe travel. It's so easy. It's got all the trains, buses, planes. Europe is the size of like, Europe's like the size of, I don't know, Calabasas. And so it's really easy. Everybody's competent. It's like Europe, but American travel and traveling to weird places, just kind of ratchet up your travel standards a little bit. Travel a little bit, as you get older, maybe decade by decade. And then I check bags always 100% of the time because I'm not traveling without my Leatherman. So I check a bag 100% of the time. And then I try to do as few flights as humanly possible. And it's basically emergencies, like, funerals or something like that. If I'm really going to be of service to someone, weddings, sort of like just obligations, cannot get out. Basically, if I'm doing it for other people, I don't travel for myself via airplane because I'm talking about in America. Very important to understand. American air travel, I've been to a lot of places, is the worst in the world of all the places I've been to. There's no place worse for air travel than the United States of America. You got to keep in mind, I've been flying exclusively out of LAX and JFK, which are probably two of the worst airports in the world. So it's from that, like if I lived in Charlotte, which has my favorite, or if I lived in Palm Springs, I would probably love air travel. If I lived in Bozeman, they have a nice little like wooden airport. I would probably not be so down on travel, but like that process where it's like, your laptop does not have to come out of the bag. I have already told you this. The laptop does. The guy's right in front of you. It's one guy. It's one guy. Also, you're the bottleneck. You're not waiting for us. We're waiting for you. We're waiting for that metal detector machine thing. And yeah, I guess I don't do it, but do that pre-check stuff. Like do all that. Do the pre-check where you can just do it the short line for the airplane and I don't know, avoid air travel. Bags, I don't know. I did a whole episode about that. Pack an extension cord, pack a power strip. I'm telling you, it's important. And then pack one luxury thing. I like to pack slippers. Yeah, there we go. Charlie asks, thank you for the book recommendation, The Coddling of the American Mind. When would you say a kid gets more interactive than they are when they're a baby? What's your favorite age to parent? My favorite age was 3 to 5. And then like 5 to 7, the influence of the kids at school starts to take over. And I think there's a lot of really annoying kids at my kids' school. And so that stuff creeps in. And I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to be an influence, and he's becoming his own human. So when they're little, they just like, they're, I don't know, just down for every little thing. And I spoil my boy a little bit, so I have to reap the consequences of that. But man, 3 to 5 was so great. And it just leaps and bounds of, learning how to ride a bike, learning how to ride on a bike, learning how to do all kinds of fun stuff. So I would say that 3 to 5 is pretty incredible. Idea for a Patreon video. This is from Charlie. People send you little problems they have in their worlds, and you outline with your miniatures how you'd build something to fix it. That's a great idea, Charlie. That's a good one. I mean, the building little miniatures is very hard. Like all that thing, but I guess I have enough around. But yeah, okay, cool. I think that's everything. That's all of them. That's all the questions. All right, guys, have a good weekend. I'm going on this big trip for like 3 weeks, but I've made posts for every week I'm gone. Some of them are very long. Some of them are not so long. A catastrophic Final Cut Pro failure yesterday where I had to like migrate the whole project to a different hard drive and use data recovery software, but I saved it. Finished that today. So starting next Friday, there'll be some new stuff. All right, man. Thank you so much for the support. Have a good weekend. And I gotta